Hey guys, and welcome to my video about the Zero Escape series, one of my favorites, and it's like all that's been on my mind recently. So, if anyone has heard recently that there's been a game called Zero Time Dilemma to come out, it's on Steam. You've probably seen it on Steam, maybe. It's on 3DS and Vita, and it's the third game in the Zero Escape series. It doesn't really blatantly say that, so if you were ever like thinking about getting it or something and you haven't played the other two, I would very highly recommend you don't do that, because I don't care like if it's like, well, this is the only way I can play, it's the only one at Steam or something. Like, I just emulate it, do something, try to play 999 first, because that game is really good, and you should, and then play Virtue's Last Reward, and then play that one. So, but yeah, that's I just kind of said it, but it's split into 3 games. There's 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. It was on the DS, still is. Virtue's Last Reward, which is on the 3DS and Vita, and then there's this one, Zero Time Dilemma. So, it's a series about like a million things, but it's a visual novel-esque game with escape the room puzzles. Like, you know, you have to find all the clues, and you have to get the key to the door. There was like tons of flash games of it back in the day. They're actually really fun. Like, if you've ever done an escape the room puzzle, they're a good time. Like, they're interesting. They keep you involved. It's cool. They're cool things, and they kind of. I always realize this too. It's always you can't have a escape the room puzzle without there being some sort of like dread. Like why are you in this room? Like, it's got to kind of be like you have to get out because you have to survive kind of thing. And that's the perfect type of gameplay for the Zero Escape series, because Zero Escape, you know, it's all about that. It's about like, it's kind of like a survival-esque game. Most like other 3 games you are playing as a character, and then you have a group of people that you have to trust, and you have to escape from this place that you're in. You have no idea why you're there. You kind of woke up there. And you have to escape. And it's about trusting people you just met, or learning about these people and the characters and why this is even happening. And it's all about why you are even in these situations in the first place. And basically the first game you play as Junpei, and you have a bunch of pals that you meet when you're in the place, and your lives are all in danger, because if you don't abide by the rules, or if you fail to do something, you die, you explode due to like a watch thing they have that like makes it explode. And like, it's kind of like a weird, like a whoa situation there, and it's crazy. It's like, it's all like spooky and scary and atmospheric, but there's like legitimate reasons behind every single thing that happens in this series, and it's not like a little series. Like, there's a lot of stuff to happen. Like, I'll segue into that very poorly, but another thing is the games have multiple endings. That's part of it, like part of like the main idea of the games, and it actually ties into the gameplay. I'm not going to spoil it entirely, but basically you are replaying the games for a reason, and each of the endings impact the last ending you get. So I just say this, that in Virtue's Last Reward, the only way to get the last ending in the game is to get all of the endings in the game, and the only reason for that is because you learn stuff in every ending, and stuff that you learn in those endings help you solve answers and puzzles in the later endings, you know? Like, sorry to explain, but let's just say there's a password to a door or something. There's a password to a lock, and you don't know it, but in a different ending, somebody tells you it, and then you go back and do it in that ending. And this isn't just like, they don't brush this off as just like coincidence. There's a reason for it. There's a reason why you can do that, and like there's a reason why you as the player are doing that, and like it blows my mind whenever I think about it, because it's a really complicated series, but Zero, they explain it decently. They make sure you understand what's going on. Like, in 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors, there's a concept of like your consciousness being disconnected from you, and like it's an interesting like theory, and like they talk about it a lot, but they make sure you understand that before they start like actually making it important and like utilizing it, you know? It's interesting. It deals with a lot of like theories and stuff about like consciousness and alternate timelines. Like the smallest little speck can change like anything, and it's crazy. And I totally recommend it. I don't know. I mean, like, I'm gonna keep talking about this, but in the end, this is just a video talking about, hey, you should all play this series. Basically, the first game is, I think, the strongest in the series. The only reason I think that is it's before all of like the crazy stuff happens. It almost feels like on a lesser scale, but that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing just because it keeps you questioning it and it makes you want to keep playing. Like it explains things and it's a good solid story on its own. But I think the other two benefit from the overarching story of the entire series. It's hard to explain, but there's a reason why everything in the series is happening the way it is. And I think 999 is so cool because it kind of has like a central story. Like you don't need to get everything because it doesn't expect you to get everything. It only expects you to understand what you've already seen. Virtue's Last Reward, it kind of expects you to already have played 999, so understand all that on top of all the stuff they're throwing at you, and it starts to kind of like build up to like what is actually happening in the entire story. I know this is very vague, and like a lot of people are being like, yeah, well, I have no idea what you're talking about, so this doesn't mean anything to me, and it's just me telling you to play it. But anyway, I'm just saying that the first one is really good, and I think is probably the strongest in the series. I also like the characters in the first one. I mean, like, I like the characters in a lot of them. I think the third game has the weakest characters, but I think the first game, I don't know, hits home with a lot of characters. Pretty interesting. All the characters are important. So Virtue's Last Reward, moving on, Virtue's Last Reward is also incredible, and it's interesting because I have an interesting history behind this series. Is I played 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors like years ago, like, I don't know, 2000, maybe 13, maybe 12, and I loved it. I thought it was so good, and it told such a good story. Without a doubt, like, one of my favorite DS games when I played it. Just really good. And I was really, really eager to play the second one because it leaves off on a kind of like a there's more to this kind of note, and like I was like, like, I need to play it. And I got it, and it actually didn't really impress me. I think I played it way too close to 999, where like the escape the room puzzles were kind of like I was sick of them by then. I actually have the game right in front of me. So I was like, oh god, like some of the puzzles were cryptic in Virtue's Last Reward, and like that doesn't normally turn me off from a game like this because, to be honest, I just like look it up when I don't understand or get some sort of guide to help me out, because like in the end the puzzles aren't really like the main idea of the game. Like I understand in a Zelda game when the puzzles are the game, like when you get that's the majority of the game. If you were to look up every puzzle, you would get a completely different experience than, you know, actually doing it yourself and learning. 999 just kind of throws this shit at you and like expects you to just kind of like spend like 3 hours figuring this out when the story is so good and you just want to move on. So Virtue's Last Reward was way weirder paced and has a pretty rocky start. I feel it when you don't really get it, like Virtue's Last Reward would be really good for replaying because there's probably tons of foreshadowing to things in the end, and it'd be really interesting. But if you don't know what's going on, it's kind of a drag in the beginning. Once you start getting into it and start getting different endings, it starts to catch up. But I want to talk about the differences between them because it's actually kind of interesting. Like I said before, 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors has multiple endings, and a lot of you are probably thinking when I said that, like, oh god, multiple endings in a text-based game? That sounds like ridiculous. Like, I don't want to play the game like 100 times. And luckily, in 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors, you don't. You only have to play the game like 3 times. And that sounds like a lot, but it's actually not. And you can skip over text you've already seen, and puzzles aren't too hard, where like you can find answers pretty fast if you know what you're doing. Like it only takes like maybe 5 minutes, not even, if you know what you're doing, just to collect the stuff and put them in the right spots. So as long as you remember what you did before. Another thing is I'm losing track of what I was thinking about. Virtue's Last Reward you don't have that anymore. You don't have to replay the entire game to go back to different endings. There's a huge flowchart in the game, and you can just click on any point in the game and go right back to it, which makes it like, so when you get to a decision, whether it be big or small, you can try a different path and then change your answer. And Virtue's Last Reward has so many more endings than 999. I think 999 has 9, obviously. Maybe 7, actually. Virtue's Last Reward, I think, has like 20, 25-ish. And, like, it sounds very daunting. It sounded daunting to me at first, but when I realized that you could do that, it actually makes it a little bit more fun, in my opinion, because nothing in the game really, like, is super impactful. Like, you'll make a decision, you'll be like, okay, well, that wasn't, like, game-changing. That'll just be like, you know, I can just go back and change it to see what the other one are. That's also one reason why I like 999 more. You're completely committed to your choices in 999, and, like, getting that first ending is actually really fun. Like, to see what kind of, like, if you know going into it that there's good endings and bad endings, knowing that, like, you're probably not going to get a good ending, and you just kind of want to see where it leads to you to, it's actually interesting. And you can do the same in Virtue's Last Reward, but there's always kind of the thought of, like, okay, well, when I'm done with this ending, all I have to do is, like, go back and see what the other one is. But then again, it works really well because the game, like, knows that you're thinking that, and, like, knows that's it's easy to go back and change things. So it plays with it. Like, it does different things with it, and it's really cool. It's so good. And all the endings kind of, like, teach you more about a character, and it's just, oh god, the ending blew my mind. But the thing is, that game's ending leads straight into the third game, and luckily, so when I played, like I said before, I got stuck on some puzzles, and I was like, I'll just put it down for now. So I've been, like, on and off playing Virtue's Last Reward for, like, 2 years now, maybe like a year and a half. But, like, since I got it, I've, like, always been, like, on and off playing it, and I'm like, oh, god, like, I should just sit down and play it, but, like, I never want to, and it's always, like, it was always just, like, a struggle to get through. I, like, replayed it, like, 3 times, but recently, like a month or 2 ago, I did pick it up again, and I did, like, fully invest myself into it, knowing that the third game was coming out, and knowing that I needed to play it, because I loved 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors so much that I needed to play this other one. And I did, and I did not regret it at all. That game was phenomenal. The ending was crazy and awesome. I loved it. So that kind of leads me into Zero Time Dilemma, which was originally not supposed to come out. It was, like, a pretty big, like oh man, will it ever come out kind of thing. And then the guy who made it, the director, was like, okay, like, can't get a publisher, it's probably not going to be coming out. It's sad. And then, like, everyone's like, what? No, we need to know. Like, come on, this is ridiculous. And then he finally got some publishers, and it finally came out. And the game does so many things differently. Like I said before, the games are visual novels usually. They're, you know, still characters saying stuff on the bottom screen or stuff at the bottom part of the screen. Like, you know, very visual novel-esque. The newer game is, like, full cutscenes with, like, the Virtue's Last Reward had full voice acting, but this one has, like, full acting, like, you know, full movement. I wouldn't say, like, dramatic, because it's hard to say that with the type of, because regardless of how you see it, Zero Time Dilemma is extremely low budget, and you can see it. Like, the models aren't great. The models look decent, I'd say. Like, for a game, they look okay, and they would be good if you, like, played as them. But for cutscenes, they don't look great, and the facial expressions are pretty limited, and the camera angles and the camera movements are also pretty limited. You can't really show a character jumping in the air with those models. I'm sure that they kind of just didn't do that. If a character jumps or if a character moves really fast or something, it usually cuts and then they're in that location and you hear, like, footsteps or something. Not much in terms of animation. They do look okay, and the mouth movements are kind of lazy, but you get over it really fast because the story is pretty enticing. It's probably one of the easiest Zero Escape games to get into, because immediately you're experiencing endings, and immediately you are seeing like crazy stuff happen. It's actually interesting too, because this game is structured differently, where you play scenes, because you can select any scene you want right from the beginning. You have a ton of scenes you can select, and they're all placed differently in the timeline of the game. Basically, after every like 90 minutes, the characters lose memory and wake up somewhere else, and they don't have any idea where they are, so they have no idea if it's been 6 hours or like 2 minutes. So, and you play all these endings that they seemingly forget every time, and it's pretty interesting. And when you start seeing them all linked together and where they fit together, it's pretty crazy. A lot of twists and turns in this one. Totally recommend it, especially if you've played the other two. I'm sure if you've played the other two, you're like already on top of this and you're going to be playing this, because there's like, if you've beaten Virtue's Last Reward all the way, I clocked in like 80 hours into Virtue's Last Reward, and if you've beaten that game all the way through, there is no doubt in my mind you want more. Like, that game really does it well. But that's kind of it. I totally recommend the series. I want to talk about spoilers, but I feel like there's not enough people that like follow me and know me and would watch this video that like have played it, and I really don't want someone to watch the video if they haven't played it. Like, not that I don't trust anyone, but it's either I make a video about spoilers and nobody watches it, or I make a video about spoilers and too many people watch it, and you know, I spoil some things for people. But without spoiling anything, I am just going to leave it at this series is easily one of my favorites. Probably my favorite written story in a video game. And not, because a lot of it is kind of corny and not cheesy, but kind of like over the top, a little like over edgy sometimes, kind of like ridiculous. But, oh, it's so cool. Like, it's so much fun. It knows it is, and it tries to be as like cool and, you know, as like, I guess, edgy as possible, quote unquote, but it's just a really cool series. Totally recommend it. You can find the games for pretty cheap. I think the first game, 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors, is like, I don't know, like $15, and then Virtue's Last Reward is about the same, and the new one is $30. So you're all in luck. You can all experience this game. You guys have no excuse. Sorry. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed me rambling about this series. I hope it gets the notoriety it deserves. Maybe not today, but I know they're remaking 999, and if that's the case, oh man, like if that got a popular Steam release, that would open up so many people to this series, and I would love it. So, yep, thank you guys for watching. You guys for watching.